Stevens Point Public Policy and General Government Meeting, recorded March 14, 2022.
Okay, well, 1 minute has passed, so I call Public Policy and General Government to order at 6:05. And, you're here to call the roll, please.
Leek.
Here.
Christensen.
Here.
Kiemer.
Here.
Kneebone.
Here.
Fischler.
Here.
Okay. The quorum. So, first up, second item on the agenda is the license list. We have quite a few of them, but I believe we could take them all together unless there are any objections. So, I'll read them out. A, Class B beer license for Paladin Planks at 1036 Main Street, beginning March 22nd. The second is Class B license for Northward LLC, 4201 Main Street, for beginning May 1st. C is Class B license for Icon, Wisconsin at 956 Main Street, beginning April 1st. Then D is a Class B liquor license for the Underground at 5110 Main Street, beginning March 22nd. E is a temporary Class B beer, Class B license for North Central Conservancy Trust, 301 West Cedar, September 22nd. F is a temporary Class B license for St. Joseph Parish, 1709 Wide Avenue, on June 4th. Then G, temporary Class B beer license for Create Portage County, on June 11th. And then temporary Class B license for Create Portage County on June 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, July 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, and August 4th at Fiffner Park. So, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Alder Kiemer?
Alder Fischler. I'll second.
Second from Alder Fischler. Any questions or discussion first from committee members?
I just note that some of them are beer. In addition, there's a second license on a number of them as well. And so I'm guessing the motion is to approve them as presented?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, one question I have is that Create has a P.O. box. Is that okay? You think that's fine? Okay. Okay, in that case, any comments from the representative from the PD?
Nope, no issues at all.
Any comments or questions from attendees here? Or from the public, I should say? If none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Item 3 on the agenda is a request to hold events and street closings. Again, a number of these. A is Horseshoes and Hand Grenades concert on August 13th. It's a new event, it says here. B is Levitt AMP Stevens Point on June 2nd, June 9th, 16th, 23rd, 30th, then into July 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, and August 4th. This is a recurring event. C, Paddle Quest from August 12th to August 14th, also recurring. Another recurring event is the Riverfront Jazz Festival, September 3rd and September 4th. E is Stevens Point Pride on June 11th, also recurring. And then the Trivia Parade on April 8th, 2022, also recurring. Need a motion.
Alder Fischler. I'll move approval as presented.
Alder Fischler moves.
Second.
Kneebone will second, unless you have one already.
Happen to, yes, but thank you. Alder Christensen seconded. Discussion and questions from the committee members. Any comments from the PD representative?
The only one that we have is for the Stevens Point Pride Festival. In their application process, they requested no law enforcement. They're expecting to have 3,000 spectators selling alcohol at the event with street closure. And we had 2 officers there last year. So we're just requesting that they have 2 contractual officers there this year as well.
I see. What, do we send this back to them then for that request, or
No, I believe you can approve it.
Yeah.
With that provision.
with that, yeah?
Yeah.
Which I guess we need a motion amendment then.
And I spoke to Gregory this morning about it as
Okay.
well.
Okay. I guess we need, oh, yes,
I'll make a motion to amend with recommendations.
do I get a second?
Alder Keemer, I'll second.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, any further, I guess we should return it to the committee if there are any questions or comments on that for the committee, yes.
Would you recommend auxiliary officers as well, or just the 2 contractual?
Yep, we'll do probably 2 contractual and then 6 auxiliary, the same thing that we're doing with hand grenades.
Okay.
They're obviously volunteers, so
Yeah.
it's not as big of a deal, but.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions or discussion from the public? Yes.
I just want to call a little attention to one unique event for the
Tell us
horseshoes.
who you are.
Oh, you bet. Dan Kramer, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to call attention to the Horseshoes and Hand Grenades concert, and the only reason I want to mention it is that it's being held not at Piffner Park, it's in Buchholz Park. So this will be the first time we've had a concert of that magnitude inside the ball diamond, essentially. That relates to some of the fencing that allows some ticket taking, that's why the request was done that way. The applicant went through a really thorough vetting process, met with not only the Legion Baseball Group, but some of the other users. There is a deposit for damage, so I just want to let you know that that is something in a neighborhood that necessarily hasn't had something to that magnitude. The concert will be a little earlier in the evening so that it doesn't go into the late hours of the night, but I do want to just mention it since it's going to be a little different than other concerts of that magnitude.
Thank you very much. Anything else from the public? If not, we'll call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Now, where are we? Let's see. Oh, yes, number 4 is the ordinance.
Chair Leak, you're actually on the main motion. You just passed the
Right.
amendment.
You're right. Okay, yes, we passed the amendment. So now let's go back to the main motion. Any further discussion on that, on the main motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
looking at this list, nobody has an excuse to say there's nothing to do in Stevens Point this summer.
Let's check the dates. Okay, thank you for the comment, yes. Okay, calling the main motion to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, thank you for pointing that out. So the next, item 4 is the ordinance amendment on special events permits, which concerns, as I understand it, primarily some additions on recurring events. So, does anybody, did your department have anything to say about this?
We had nothing to do with this. one.
Okay, okay. Well, hear a motion. What's that?
I believe the city attorney's office was involved in this.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. City Attorney, Newstead, did you want to comment on this?
Was this the update to the special events ordinance?
Yes, that's right.
We staff met last week, and basically just we're at the point where we've had a couple months of applications coming through under the new system, and this is just ironing out some of the very first little wrinkles that we've seen in it. Probably the one that affects actual applicants the most is the inclusion of language to take recurring events into consideration, such as the Levitt Amp series. We didn't have anything in there currently, well, under the original version, that would allow us to treat a series of events that are all essentially just iterations of the same thing as one application. And obviously, we don't want to charge them $35 for each week that they have to apply for and create a bunch of extra paperwork. So that and a couple other small wrinkles as indicated in there that are being addressed. And we're also making some changes that aren't reflected in the ordinance that relate more to just the process and the paper forms that we're using with people to avoid having people fill out applications for events that actually are not subject to the special events ordinance. We've had a couple people come in and fill out applications to have an event that's entirely being held on private property. And they submit it, we take their money, and then we start processing and realize that they didn't actually even need to apply. So we're trying to make some little changes to things to avoid having that type of thing happen.
Understood. Thank you. Or any questions for the city attorney? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, guess I'll hear a motion.
I'll move approval.
Alder Christensen moves to approve.
Alder Kiemer, I'll second.
Alder Kimmer seconds. Excuse me. Okay. Any discussion on the motion, I guess I should ask, from the committee? Yes.
This is a question I think more for Clerk Yenter. There was some discussion when this new permit application first came before us, I think maybe late last year, that there might be a way to kind of standardize the mapping element of the application. I don't know, is that anything, is it just up to the applicant to provide their own map, or is there any way to kind of have
The applicants just provide their own
their
maps.
own maps? Okay.
Thank you. Any discussion from the public? No. Okay, thank you very much. In that case, we'll call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Finally, we have a discussion item on Chapter 21, Amendments 21.08 to 21.19. Here it is. Which we have here the memo on this from Mark Cordes. Is he here tonight?
Yeah, either way, we can, Mark and I can tag team this.
Okay.
So this is the third and final discussion-only item. It is expected that Chapter 21 will come back during the April Public Policy General Government meeting for final adoption. I will note that as part of the education component, reaching out to folks, let them know that this change is coming. We are having a informational meeting at the end of March, I believe the 30th, at 6 o'clock here in the community room. So encourage anyone who has questions on the Chapter 21 rewrite to attend that. We'll give a presentation. But essentially, in the final iteration before you, there are a few changes that I want to highlight. More specifically, 2108-2 A through C. We are amending the property maintenance code to essentially bring a lot of the living areas in our community into compliance. At the time that a lot of the more specifically college rentals were expanded in the core of the neighborhood, they were done with permits and were done to meet the codes of that time. In 1980, when the Universal Dwelling Code was adopted, a lot of those fell into non-compliance. And just from a practical standpoint, it didn't make a lot of sense. The living areas were not grossly out of compliance. And so in a way to help bring more of these properties into compliance, we would amend the code in Chapter 21. Additionally, we talked a little bit about the compliance plan that we're trying to implement as part of the Chapter 21 rewrite. That goes a long way in addressing issues that we've had historically. A good example was we had a cockroach infestation at one of our apartment complexes here in the city, and through that process we requested a compliance plan, which goes a long way in ensuring that the issue is being resolved in a timely manner and consistent with best practices. And then taking the 60-day standard out of the code to give city staff more flexibility. If you were to get a letter from the city saying you have to replace your roof, the chances you're going to be able to get it done in 60 days are zero. So we are offering additional flexibility to those property owners who may not be able to alleviate the concern within that 60-day period again, give city staff a little bit more flexibility. Everything else is, I think, more or less standard to the Chapter 21 rewrite and house cleaning, including changing areas like the trash and receptacles from Chapter 21 to Chapter 7, where they actually should be, going through, making amendments to make sure we don't have redundancy within our municipal code.
Thank you. This is a discussion item, so do we have any questions or points from the discussion, or from the committee? Yes, Alder Kiemer.
I think this was brought up before, but just as a reminder, one of the main changes I see here is the replacement of code official for building inspector. Could you again sort of give a sense of the scope of who the code official could be from community development?
Sure. So technically, in state statutes, we have building inspectors or building officials. And so if you take that and apply it, there's only 3 individuals in our department who could actually do the enforcement side. That's actually kind of outside of the scope of their position if you took the literal building inspector definition. So changing it to code official, it opens it up for Mr. Cordes to do more enforcement, Adam Kuhn, who's our zoning administrator, to do more enforcement, our building inspectors, and then ultimately the community development director as kind of the chief code official could also issue citations, issue notices, as opposed to just the building inspection staff.
Very good, thanks.
Any further discussion or questions from the committee?
I
Yes.
have a quick question. Director Kronoski, the public meeting on the 30th, would that be available via Zoom as well if folks don't want to come in person?
Correct. We'll have both an in-person and Zoom option as well.
Thanks.
And that was March 30th.
March 30th at 6 p.m.
Wonderful. Right here, I take it.
Right here.
Right here. Okay. Any further questions or discussion from the committee? Discussion or questions from the public? Okay, well, that was a discussion item. So with that, we did not win the race. So, but I call adjournment here. So up next is, we adjourn at 6:22, I should say.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.